Welcome to Indie Film Podcast. This week we'll be discussing who's at fault for a bad performance, the actor or the director.
I blame the writer.
Well, I blame the budget.
We'll share our experience with us casting our own friends for our films,
The age-old debate of underacting versus overacting,
our highlights and devastating lows of working with actors of all ranges.
and of course, can you just fix it in post? On that note, I'm Victoria.
And I am Chuck. Let's start with something inspiring. We can share some of our favorite actors who started with zero experience acting.
Fantastic.
I'll go first.
Beautiful.
I actually had to do a lot of digging around to find someone with zero acting experience.
Okay, and?
And the only person I could find that, and please comment if you have somebody that has zero experience, but I could only find Channing Tatum.
Really? Actually, I believe that.
Yeah, so before he was an actor, he was a stripper. And
Wait, actually?
yeah, in real life, he was a stripper. So Magic Mike is based on his experience stripping. And he,
Wait, really?
yes.
Magic Mike is a true story?
Well, I've never seen Magic Mike.
I haven't either.
But it's based on Channing Tatum's experience being a stripper. And then he got picked up by a modeling agency. He got some gigs doing some music videos, and then he worked his way into acting. Because when you start to do a deep dive on people that have quote unquote zero acting experience, what you find is that they don't have any professional acting training type thing, or they didn't go to acting school. But a lot of them, like one really good example, which from The Office, the character David Wallace, who was played by Andy Buckley, he was actually an investment banker during the filming of The Office. And so I was like, oh, that's really cool. And that was something that my brother, the cinephile, reminded me of. Yes. And so when I did some digging into his history, though, he practiced with Melissa McCarthy and Dax Shepard at the Groundlings Theater, which is a sketch comedy improv group, when he was, I think, in college or something like that. So he still had a background of having been on stage. Yeah. And so do a lot of people. The other person I found was Johnny Depp.
Oh, that was one of my examples.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because he was a musician.
Yep.
But he got pushed into acting by Nic Cage.
I don't remember if it was Nic Cage, but somebody's daughter either had a thing for him or knew of him somehow, or was like, oh no, this musician's actually pretty good. You should put him in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh,
and then there you go.
The story I read was it was Nic Cage who actually changed his last name to Cage from Coppola because he's part of the Francis Ford Coppola family. So it seems like it's kind of a little close. Okay. And then it was really hard to find examples of that, because if you Google it, even Natalie Portman comes up, but then she started on screen as a child, and I feel like a child actor doesn't really count because of course they don't have any formal training or they don't have a lot of experience acting because they're a freaking kid.
Yeah, at 8, the most experience you could possibly have would be 8 years, and I feel like those first few probably weren't that helpful.
Yeah, Gerber baby. Gerber baby.
I will say there was another one that I saw that I do not know the validity of.
Okay.
So I take it with a grain of salt because
I don't have any salt, so we're just going to take it at 100% face value.
Beautiful. Love it. Let's spread internet rumors.
Sweet.
It was Rosario Dawson.
Oh, okay.
Was supposedly discovered while sitting on her front porch.
Oh, nice.
I do not know if that's 100% true or not, because I do know that she puts a lot of work in. So I would be really surprised to hear that. But it did make me think of something that you don't really hear about people getting discovered anymore. Yeah. I feel like that's not really a thing as much as it used to, because people have the ability to create their own platforms and put so much of their own content out.
Yeah.
That being discovered isn't really a thing. Mm-hmm. But it does remind me of this really funny story. And on the subject of casting friends and things, feels kind of right. In junior high, I was at the theater, the local movie theater, with my friend Lena, who is an amazing person, really talented singer and pianist.
Okay.
Really shy, does not really love acting so much. As she's gotten older, it's gone away quite a bit, but at that age, she was pretty shy and didn't really love performing. Meanwhile, I love acting.
Yeah.
I've been acting since I could walk and talk. And Lena is also, she's Asian, Chinese, and very tall absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, long, flowing dark hair. Like, she's stunning.
Mm-hmm.
I am an awkward, short redhead. We are at the movie theater together. This woman walks up, which should be concerning, and just starts talking to Lena about, have you been discovered before? I run this modeling agency and we really need to talk. And she just starts coming in real hot with all these different things.
How old were you two again?
12, 13.
Oh my gosh.
Really uncomfortable. Like, all things considered, very, very uncomfortable situation and exchange. But also, for an already awkward redheaded teen who's been bullied for their looks and everything, to be a solid foot shorter than this woman who's like being accosted by a fully grown woman who's trying to turn her into a model, while I'm like, I don't even think she wants to model. Anyway, it was a hard moment. It was a hard moment. And I'm pretty sure the modeling agency ended up being a total scam anyway. I don't think Lena ever did it.
I don't think that's the way being discovered works.
I don't think it was really uncomfortable, especially in Boise, Idaho.
Did she also have bicycles in her van and candy? Because I don't know.
We did not make it outside with her.
That's good.
Yeah, we did not.
That probably would have been the next thing.
Yeah, Lena,
like,
I think
do
ended
you
up
all
taking
like Skittles? Because I got all you can eat.
I got them all.
I don't know if I buy that whole being discovered.
I don't know.
Story that we used to hear when we were growing up, like pre-internet, because I feel like that was all manufactured and was part of like the background of people appealing to everyone, like the everyman or every person story. Yeah. Because if you really look into it, all these people that are talented, even Channing Tatum, right? I mean, yeah, stripper, but the thing is he knows how to perform on stage in front of a large group of people.
He understands theatrical performance. And if you don't think that strippers are performing,
you're going to the wrong clubs.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't want to be the one to tell you that, but
you should go somewhere else because you're not getting your money's worth. But yeah, so
I was just going to say you're really gullible.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
I've got some lakeside property and, I need a landlocked state. Arizona. There's still a lake in Arizona. Are there any states without a lake? It doesn't matter. Anyway, the point being.
Yes, you got it.
You're gullible.
Yes. So should we talk about casting friends? Because we've both done it.
Yes.
And that's something that indie films do. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it works. I'll just end the sentence there. Sometimes it works.
I want to say all of this with a strong caveat, though. Like, okay. I have been involved in film and theater since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my friends are actors.
Yeah.
And they do enjoy performing in one way or another, whether they like film or theater or improv or music or whatever it is. Usually the people that I'm closest with do enjoy being performers. Not all of them. Mm-hmm. Some of my very, very closest friends definitely do not. I can think of one person in particular, so I'm just going to say a huge thank you again to Danielle. Mm-hmm. I think she deserves that for all the years that I made this incredibly nerdy, wonderful, sweet, super shy, super introverted, hates people kind of person perform on camera constantly. Because you know what? Every time I needed her, she showed up. She was on time. She stayed as late as we needed. She didn't care what we were doing. If we were filming a music video and she needed to dance, and she does not enjoy dancing, but she would sit there and go over the choreography with me over and over and over again until she had it figured out.
That's nice.
The dedication is real with friends.
You had friends that were very supportive of your dream to become a famous director.
My friends are way too good for me. I love them all desperately, and I feel bad for putting them in these scenarios. But like, come on, you got to be in a music video. That's fun.
So to answer their question then, is casting your friends in your film a smart shortcut or a disaster waiting to happen? How would you qualify that statement or quantify it?
I honestly think that it is a smart shortcut. I think that your odds are good that you do have friends that are talented actors. Acting is just like any other skill. Yes, it helps if you want to learn it because that makes you more likely to put the time and effort and energy in. But I think anybody can do it.
I don't agree with you. I think that it's so much better to put some feelers out there and try to find somebody that has experience with acting, that's willing to work with you, maybe because they enjoy your script, because you're going to learn more from the person that has experience than you think you will.
Okay, then I'm going to also kind of reframe this here. The way I interpreted this question was, if you cannot find actors to work with, should you just not make your film if all you have are your friends? And I was going to say, no, absolutely not, because you're going to have so much fun working with your friends.
Do the film, but don't sit in your comfort zone, because you're already going to push yourself out of your comfort zone if you haven't made a short film before. You're going to want to push yourself outside of that comfort zone. You're going to have to when you're making the film. So do it early and audition some people, and maybe get some input from people that are actors that will understand maybe your writing's really bad.
Oh, yeah.
And you hear it from somebody that knows how to act, right? And I'm not even saying somebody with a ton of experience. Like, it doesn't have to be somebody that's been in front of the camera for years, but I mean, at least go to, your community theater, which we bring up a lot. See if you enjoy somebody's performance. Inexpensive tickets. Those people are donating their time anyway. It's a great place to source potential actors for your film.
Yeah.
Actors talk about film versus theater actor being different, but
they can be.
It's definitely more similar than somebody that is, like a mechanic.
Yeah.
That's definitely...
Unless you want him to play a mechanic, then maybe
there might be
you do want the mechanic.
Yeah.
Because then when they start talking about the car engine parts and your script makes no sense whatsoever, and you're talking about like flushing coolant out of your transmission or something like that, then the mechanic can at least call you out on that.
Yeah, but you should just run that. You should run that by the right people at the scripting phase.
Yes,
anyway. But
that's also very fair.
No, I will say, having been on camera as an inexperienced actor in the Lower Gentry Studios' first feature film, I would advise against using inexperienced actors if you can get around it. But
so why were you on camera? Could you not find another actor, or did you want to do it?
That's a great question. I thought I was going to be fantastic. And it was just kind of one of those things, like it was the Johari window, or the Dunning-Kruger effect. I didn't know what I didn't know. So the proof's in the pudding when you watch the film.
No, I honestly don't think it is far from the worst acting I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, I did play in bands on stage in front of people, and I did have like a couple of small roles in high school theater. So it wasn't like I was coming with zero experience, but at the same time, like I hadn't done a lot. So, but it was definitely rough. But we can get into that because we're going to share some of our experiences working with non-professional actors. But I will say there's a really good quote from Walton Goggins, and his suggestion for actors is to read the script 250 times.
Yeah.
And his quote is, "It's a child's game. Turn yourself over to an imaginary set of circumstances. Anthony Hopkins, Jessica Tandy, Robert Duvall, they all read the script 250 times." And I feel like what I learned being an inexperienced actor is that the lines need to become unconscious in order for you to have a remotely present delivery of those lines. And so if you have enough rehearsal time, then it might be okay to bring someone on with no experience, but you need to make sure that they have those lines forwards, backwards. They can start and stop at any point in the script, almost like somebody that has a performance for classical piano. Like you want to be able to pick the piece up in the middle in case you screw up in the middle of it, and execute all of it like muscle memory. And I think that's super, super important if you're going to work with inexperienced people.
Well, that's one entire like school of theater. It's the I really hope I'm not wrong here. The Meisner method.
Okay.
Is that it's the words aren't what you're saying. It doesn't matter really what's coming out of your mouth, because the words are only that itty bitty percentage of what you're actually saying.
True.
So
how many times do you misread a text message? everybody out there.
Constantly.
Yeah.
But
or an email. You're like, why is this person being so passive aggressive? And it's like, oh no, that wasn't, you talk to them and you're like, oh no, it's fine.
It wasn't passive aggressive. They genuinely meant it.
Yeah. I guess I just read everything as passive aggressive. I don't know why that registered that way for me. But yeah.
Yes.
The words aren't as important as the delivery.
And it's not even just the delivery, it's being present in that moment, right? Because what is it, like 90% of acting is reacting or something along those lines is another famous catchphrase, if you will. And the idea is, you're there. You're genuinely interacting with this person. Like for us, we don't really have a script for the podcast. We have an outline, so we both know kind of what we want to say, and we have notes, but we're having a genuine conversation.
Yeah.
Versus if we were in a play, there would be a script.
Yeah.
But for it to read as a natural performance, it can't be about the words and remembering what you're about to say, because you don't do that in real life. You don't think about what you're about to say next.
No, you want to be totally present in your performance.
Exactly.
You were supposed to say, what? I wasn't listening to you.
Oh.
So what's better or worse? Actually, what's worse? A flat performance or an over-the-top bad performance?
This one I'm pretty passionate about, actually. I am a firm believer that a flat performance is so much worse than over the top, because over the top, you can always pull back. I don't know if you can actually push someone who has a really flat performance to go bigger.
Oh, so you're saying that it is, so the flat performance is by far not
worse.
Good. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you.
That's what I tell every time I'm directing.
Well, this
anything.
is a flat interaction that we're having if we're just agreeing with each
we're
other.
Just gonna agree.
Yeah, it's over the top. What was the quote I heard? It was actually on Freakonomics podcast of all things. Somebody was talking about his acting coach from high school. But it's better to be bad than be boring. I thought that was kind of cool. So yes. I feel like that's true. I feel like Nic Cage is a shining example of over the top.
Yes.
So great. You can watch.
You love it every time.
There was a reel that
even when he
up.
doesn't have lines.
Yeah, he's always at 110%, just delivering with so much energy. But you can see behind the scenes of the film Face Off, and it's absolutely incredible. Him and John Travolta, and when you get removed from the music and the audio of them like having the scene where Nic Cage is like strangling John Travolta, it's so incredible to watch how over the top their delivery feels, when they're in that environment. And then on camera, obviously, it's still over the top, but it's kind of fun. So,
well, that's one. Theater has the luxury of being a little bit more over the top. So
True.
I feel like theater actors get a little bit more of a pass because you've got to play that to the back of an auditorium of a couple hundred or 1,000 people.
True.
And I also feel like most people... This seems very assumey of me, and that's probably not great, but most people probably assume they're a little more over the top than they actually are.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Because I know that, that's my go-to, is I will always tell actors, you go as big as you possibly can. I will tell you when I want you to stop or if I want you to pull back. Otherwise, go as hard and as big as you can.
Yeah, you're right. It is harder to get more out of somebody that's nervous or shy or reluctant to give that really over the top, potentially embarrassing performance.
Yeah, because getting past the self-conscious stuff is really difficult for people.
Which we can talk about, actually. Best and worst moments working with non-professional actors.
Yeah.
Do you have examples?
Oh, I would definitely say that music video that I referenced earlier. Now, to be fair, we had a great time filming it. Because it was basically just spending a whole day hanging out with my friends. But again, college, right? I should not have been choreographing anything. Yes, I have a lot of dance experience. Yes, I really love dancing. Yes, I can teach Zumba classes. But should I choreograph things? No, I don't actually have any experience in knowing any of those things. I do not understand dance theory, if you will, or detailed stylings of things, and I should not choreograph things. But they put up with it, and they all learned it for the most part.
Yeah.
But as not dancers in a big group where everyone is supposed to be moving perfectly in sync, as you could imagine, it was not flawless.
Well, was the music video boring?
The music video was so not boring, and we didn't have the luxury.
It's better to be bad than to be boring, so at least you got that taken care of.
And it was a music video, so we got to cut around a lot of things and put some creative, stylized shots in there. So honestly, all things considered, it actually turned out. I was okay with it. I was totally fine with it. But it was so much fun to make.
Well, good. As long as you're having fun. And, that's another trick you can use. Like if you're an indie film, just like make it meta. And if it ends up being really bad, lean into it.
Oh, yeah. Especially since the song was Fame from the musical.
Oh, nice.
Which probably does not resonate with you. But I'm hoping somebody out there knows the song. And it's...
I would imagine.
Yeah. It's awful. It's not a great song. I love it, but it's not...
Not my jam.
That's okay. Okay, what about you? How about your best and worst moments?
So one of these was really great, by far the best. And that was working with, it was my former neighbors. Their names are Wes and Josiah. Okay. And we were filming a scene for this 48-hour feature film. And the 48-hour feature film was a script that was sent out to multiple teams, like 12 different teams that were all supposed to film a segment, like a 5 to 10 minute segment of the film.
Everyone got so many pages.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so everybody got like 5 to 10 pages, and we were supposed to film it over the weekend, and then they took all of those segments and compiled it into one feature.
Nice.
And the segment that we got included a really long, drawn out speech of one of the characters that, to be honest, was painfully boring.
Oh, no.
And so we were trying to figure out what to do with it. And our friend Ellen Smith was in charge of this really long, drawn-out speech, but we only had 48 hours to do it. And so we didn't get the script till the night before. And it was like, she was like, I can't memorize 5 pages. Because it was literally...
It was a 5-page monologue.
Yeah, it was that long. And so we're like, okay, what are we going to do here? And what we did was we sat our friends, Wes and Josiah, on the couch.
Okay.
In their own framing. And then we had Ellen do her speech mostly off camera.
Okay.
And then we let our camera roll on those two, and we kept doing the take until they literally were bored out of their minds and they forgot that they were on camera. So
got a very genuine performance.
Yeah, we got a super genuine performance from them because you can see them trying to look and pay attention to what she's saying, and then kind of looking down at their hands and trying to figure out ways to entertain themselves as the time is going.
With like threads on their pants.
Yeah,
or something.
Exactly. And you could see it if you jump to the end. It's on Vimeo. If you Google I-48 feature lifter is what it's called. You can find it.
Is that still out there?
Yeah, you can find it on Vimeo on Google.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up because I think I'm in that.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of Idaho/Boise people that were in that. So
okay,
yeah, ours was at the very end on that one, and it was so great.
Nice.
But the best thing about it is when they did the screening, there were 2 other speeches in that film that were very similar, and I started to laugh really hard when the first 2 came up because all those other teams did the exact same thing that we did.
You cut away to somebody else.
Somebody that was really bored. During the speeches, and it was like, oh boy, that was great. So,
that's really funny. It's really funny that you weren't the only ones that had that as your solution.
Yeah,
wow,
it was very what do you call that? It's not synergistic, but it was very coincidental that everybody had that same exact response to it. And then worst experiences, definitely the schmacting. It's a quote that my brother Elliot uses, writer-director, schmacting, which is like...
To reference.
Acting, but like just kind of like turning it up too much.
Oh, is that like when you tell someone, namely me, wow, you're acting so hard right now?
Acting so hard.
Okay.
I'm schmacting.
Okay, so Elliot would just say schmacting.
Schmacting, yeah.
Nice.
And that was actually me on our feature film, Brown Truck. We had a crying scene, and I thought I nailed this crying scene. And when you go back and watch the footage, I was crying real hard. And it's pretty bad. My brother made a GIF out of it, and so he still sends it to text message groups every once in a while that I'm in. to like poke fun. Like if,
just to really
like,
lean in.
Chuck is upset about it, and then he'll send a picture of me like crying really, really hard.
Weren't you trying to compare it to Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man's crying as well?
Yes, it is actually very similar to Tobey Maguire's. So Tobey Maguire and I are probably on a similar level.
I don't think that's fair to Tobey. I don't think that's fair to him. You're wonderful in your own way, and you excel in all the places that really matter. And if you really wanted to act, I think you could just do it more, and you'd be pleasantly surprised with yourself. But don't say that about Tobey. That's not fair.
Well, I'm just going to say, I don't know if he's that much better than me. All right, so how can you adjust the script and edit to save an actor's performance?
I actually really believe that an editor is going to make or break an actor's performance.
Okay.
And that's whether you're a really skilled, talented actor with several films and series and all sorts of fun things under your belt, or if you've never been in front of a camera before. If your editor doesn't know the right mood and moment and timing to cut to really hit those beats and make things stick, or even just a cutaway to other people to kind of switch it up, keep it from getting dull and boring. Aforementioned monologues, for example. If you have a really long monologue, but you just leave it on the person, no matter how good that performance is, there is still a really strong tendency that unless you're leaving it on them for that dramatic play, it's gonna play as, wow, you couldn't think of anything else to do with the camera. And then people are so taken out of the actor's performance because they're like, well, I want to see how's this landing with everyone around them? What do the other people feel? What's happening? Things like that. So there's a lot to be said for what an editor can actually do. And again, stylistic choices, there are times where, yes, the camera should stay on the monologue the whole time. I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, it does behoove you to show the surroundings and the impact of those words on other people in the scene.
Yeah.
Just to fully illustrate it better to your audience.
And if you do have somebody that's an inexperienced actor and you are leaving the camera on them for that entire monologue, you might want to rethink that. Yeah. Because you're talking about somebody that might be knocking this monologue out of the park.
I am assuming they're going to knock it out of the park. Fair.
But if there's not necessarily knocking this monologue out of the park, one, you might want to rewrite it first of all.
Yeah.
Like at the scripting phase, and then during the edit, you might want to make some cuts where you can, and you might want to cut away as well. There's ways to fix it in the edit, but I agree completely that editing is gold. And if you're a director and you're handing something off to an editor and you're just making a list of takes, especially when you're starting out and if you haven't worked with the editor before, you want to be there and you want to communicate directly and see what's going on, at least until you get a feel for it or you get a feel for the editor. I don't know what that's like because I've only ever gone start to finish, especially with the stuff with Lower Gentry Studios and my brother. It's like he's there and he does all the editing.
Yeah.
And I'll come in and look at stuff, but every single take gets looked at.
Yeah.
And cutaways are chosen for specific reasons. And usually it has to do with performance, sometimes continuity. But yeah, you want to be real careful during the edit, and you want to take that into account when you're working with inexperienced actors, because that's where you can get clever to help to cover some of that stuff up.
Yep.
So.
No, I completely agree on that one. I will say, as far as changing the script goes.
Yeah.
This was my worst moment. This one was hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was the cinematographer for the Bodega short that I made a few years ago.
Okay.
And I was not supposed to be in the cast.
Okay.
And our actress dropped out last minute.
All right. This is indie film stuff.
Mm-hmm. It happens. It was still heavy COVID times. They had been out of town at a gymnastics conference or something, and for their kid, not for them. Though kudos to anyone who's an adult and still doing gymnastics. That's impressive.
Yeah.
But so then they had a COVID outbreak there, so everyone was being forced to quarantine there and stay, and she just was not going to be back.
Yeah.
And so that was, the night before the shoot. So I got to try to memorize a really long monologue the night before. And I actually really enjoyed the monologue. It was really well written, and I did not have enough time because I was focused on shooting all day, so I didn't even have time to memorize it that day either. So I was just doing my best to try to get through this monologue, and I know I ended up having to rewrite a fair amount of it in my head and basically just channeled angry feminist rant was the point. I knew there were a few key lines and moments that I had to hit because other people had to respond back to them, so I wanted to hit those as best I could. But yeah, a good majority of that monologue was very improv.
Well, I don't think that improv is necessarily a bad thing.
I felt bad because the script was really well written.
Well, I mean, that's another thing too, is sometimes scripts are well written, but I will say in like micro-budget indie film, a lot of the times they aren't. And so to hold on to some of those words on the page like they're gold, if they don't have a reason to be there, don't question it, and maybe trust somebody that has experience, that's an actor and maybe has some improv background. Like, trust them to do something that's more interesting than what you might have written down and be open to it.
No, that's a really good point, because I do end up getting stuck really hard on when there are lines. That's exactly what I'm supposed to be saying.
Yeah.
Verbatim, they have given me the words to say. That is exactly what I need to say.
Which is usually what you want to start with, I would imagine, as an actor. That's really important. And I shouldn't just shit on indie films, because I will say that most Hollywood films have a really, really crappy writing for the most part. So
you're like, wait, no, everything's poorly written. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of really bad writing out there, regardless of the budget that's available. It's like, come on, figure out plot, figure out how people really talk. It's hard, but do the work. But yeah, I don't think that line by exact delivery is important. But the thing is that if you do have a good script and you are really proud of the dialogue you wrote, before you take the actor's input, it is important that they do know what you wrote and understand it.
Yeah.
So coming from that place is better than just being like, oh, I don't know, this doesn't feel right. Let me come up with some lines. I guess that's a little bit different.
And it was definitely a necessity type of thing. It was just.
And, when you're micro-budget indie filmmaking, like, you just got to do what you can do when it's time to hit record sometimes. And
that's it.
That's all you got. So
that's the best you can do.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add to our subject of working with non-professional actors?
I will say just on the subject of, like, of course, it's killing your darlings. It's always killing your darlings.
Yeah.
But in the edit, as far as making or breaking a good performance, I actually think that this was covered really well. And I'm pretty sure it's called The Studio on Apple TV.
Okay.
And there's an episode where Ron Howard has a new movie that he's created. And obviously it's fake. But in this movie, it's like the first 2 hours of the movie they take you through, and it's evocative and it's beautiful, and then they're laughing super hard, and then, oh no, there's danger, and they're all on the edge of their seats, and it's really well done. And then they think the movie's over, and then, oh no, it starts back up again. And then it's another like 45 minutes to an hour of very esoteric art house style shots that are just a completely different vibe from the rest of the film. But it's emotionally important to Ron Howard as Ron Howard.
Okay.
And it's about him losing his cousin, and it's very, very important to him, and it's emotionally. And so then nobody's willing to tell him that you have to cut the last 45 minutes of this movie. And that's what the entire episode plot hinges on. And I think it's a really good moment, right? Because even the actor that's in that film, which is therefore in the episode talking about it, he's like, what, are you crazy? Like, this movie's terrible. It's so good up until the end. And then I just look like an asshole. And like, he's never going to work again if the movie stays as is. And somebody has to give Ron Howard this note, but nobody wants to. So I think that's a good way to summarize Killing Your Darlings. It affects more people than you know.
Yeah, just cut it. And don't be afraid to cut actors' performances if they slog on. Like, it's an indie film. It's a micro-budget indie film. If you're working on it, it needs to be succinct. I think most films can just be more succinct. So don't be upset if you have to cut some lines from your actor and cut their screen time, because you want to be thinking about the project as a whole and not the importance of individuals being on screen.
Not to mention the fact that if an indie actor looks better in the shorter version, they will be much happier that you cut their performance too. They don't want to look bad.
Fair.
It only does favors for everyone.
Well, they don't want to look boring. But
right.
They can look bad, but not boring.
Right.
All right. Anything else to add?
No, I think that's finally it.
Should we succinctly say goodbye?
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.